Hello, welcome back to another Pen Talk. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for following me along my journey. And occasionally you need to do maintenance when you're traveling. And this is what I use when I start cleaning pens. This is my second major cleaning in the past couple weeks. So I thought we would just do a slight review of all these pens that I have here in various states of disassembly. And I try to disassemble a pen as much as I possibly can when I do cleaning to make certain that I remove all the ink that's in the pen. And all of these pens had different challenges with them, but thankfully over a period of time of a couple days and probably about 5 or 6 hours of work, I was able to clean these sufficiently. And I put them in these compartments in this plastic tray so they can thoroughly dry before I reassemble them and put them in a drawer for use another day. So let's take a look at these individually. Here's the Shaffer Imperial. It has that needle-like point on it, which I never really got used to. This converter is an interesting converter. It works very similar like a pump converter like the Con 7D that Pilot uses. So that'll go in the drawer for potential future use. Here we have a Moonman N3, which I really like this nib on here, but I just didn't use the pen enough. And I cleaned it up. I didn't pull the nib and feed because this cleaned up relatively easily. Beautiful pen, but just didn't get used enough. So here's a PenBBS in the Gloom color. Kind of like a brownish reddish color. Interesting color. I put a medium Fluid nib in it, which wrote fairly well, but I have a bunch of medium nibs that I enjoy writing with, and the pen got low on ink and I wasn't in the mood to refill it. So as you can see, I really took this one all apart, pulled the nib and feed out, and now it's clean, ready to be reassembled. And I'll probably put a PenBBS nib back in here and put it in its original condition and save the full one medium for another pen. Here's my very nice Parker 45 with that beautiful oblique nib on it. The O for oblique. This pen just it sat for a little bit too long, so it needed a complete cleaning. I hadn't really done much with it. It got kind of lost in its jar that I put it in, you know, with about the other over 50 pens I have inked up. So I cleaned it out. With this converter, I flush with a hypodermic needle or a syringe. So this is all ready to go. The nib unscrews very easily, which allows you to really flush out the section good. So this will be re-inked when I can figure out what ink I want and feel that I'm going to be using it on a more regular basis. So here's another Parker with a great nib. It also has somewhat of a stub, kind of like, not quite as an oblique, but certainly some nice tipping material on there. And this was a great writer. Unfortunately, this converter doesn't come off. At least I haven't found a way to take it off, and I'm not going to try to force it. So this took a lot of flushing. So what I did with this is what I do with a lot of my sack lever fillers is I'll flush maybe 10 or 15 times. The water will still be inky. So then I'll fill the whole thing with water, set it up and leave it set for a few hours, and then that water kind of dissolves a lot of the ink, and then I'll flush again for a little bit. And this took about 2 days to finally get it all clean, but I'll reassemble it and I'm certain I'll find a nice little ink for it and put it back in rotation. Sticking with Parkers and great nibs, this is my International, Dual Fold International, also with a very nice nib on it. I think that number 98 correlates to kind of a fine italic, I think they called it. Now, it was a nice writer, but I just didn't use it enough. and it sat for too long, so it needed a thorough cleaning. I'll reassemble it, and I'm certain it will get back into daily use. So here's one of my 2 Cali Arts that I got. I think we called this Model 3. This one also sat for too long. Beautiful pen. It was the one I put the substitute nib in. But I had the same issue with this pen that I had with the other one that's the same model. Is ink totally dried up inside the feed. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it did. This took a lot of soaking and a lot of flushing. I had to pull the whole thing apart. But eventually I cleaned it up. I think this will go with its brother, and I don't think it's going to go back into daily use. So this is a beautiful Niango 471 PenBBS pen. We had a little bit of staining in that nib collar. This is that nice medium nib, which I like, from PenBBS. So I just this is another pen. It sat too long, a few months without being used. It kind of got misplaced, so it needed to be cleaned out. I mean, these 471s I've been very happy with. They've been very reliable, but any pen that you leave set for a long period of time, maybe except the slip and seal on the Platinum 3776, but I wasn't really happy with those pens when I had them in daily use. So I think this will join its other 471 brethren and maybe see another day of writing. So speaking of PenBBS 309s, the piston filler PenBBS model, beautiful Hawaii finish. I love that yellow and blue combination with a few tinges of other colors in there. This one I also pulled completely apart, and you can also see some staining in that nib sleeve, nib collar, however you want to call it. You know, this is the piston that sticks in this pen like it sticks in the 492. And I've not found a real way to make it not stick, except to keep it down a little bit, so when the first time I move the blind cap, I'm pulling the piston up, and that seems to free it. Because this also, the screw rotates separate from the piston, so when you're turning it, it's not going to turn the piston to free it, which is what it needs. And this also has a nice little substitute nib. This is one that Doug likes. It's not quite as upturned, but that's a Chinese maker that seems to make a lot of nice nibs. So this is one of the Live In You pens. This is the first one I got. It was lent to me by a fellow pen enthusiast. I think this is an incredible resin. It kind of reminds me a little bit of that Moonman N3 one that we looked at earlier. It has a Schmidt nib in, which is not my favorite. This pen just didn't get enough use, so it's now thoroughly cleaned, and again yanked out the feed and nib and out of the nib collar there, so it's probably going to be returned to its original owner. Well, we come to the first of a couple lever fillers that we're going to be looking at, and this is the Waterman W5. It's a pen that was made in the UK. This also has an excellent nib on it. You know, it's a little bit of a soft nib. This one took a lot of flushing. Eventually it flushed out clean. Another really beautiful pen that just didn't get written with as much as it should have. This Esterbrook J in the nice copper color, or root beer color as some people might refer to it. This will definitely get back into service, because I had this nice Osmoroid calligraphy nib in there. And again, this just sat for longer than it should have, and so it needed a thorough cleaning, and I didn't have to let this one set as much. As you can see, I was able to flush with the syringe to clean out that ink sac inside, and it makes it a lot easier when you can do that with these types of pens. Here's my Franken Eyedropper, the Waterman one. The cap never really fit as well as it should. Again, there's a nice nib in here. It was an enjoyable pen to write with, but a little on the small side for me. It was more of an experiment to see if I could actually find a cap to fit on the barrel. I did that. Now to go back into my eyedropper drawer. Last but not least is a Conway Stewart a 475, really in excellent condition. You know, hard rubber from the 30s, and it still looks like new. This also has a great Conway Stewart nib on it. It's on the soft side. It's a little stubby. This one again just got mislaid and didn't get written with enough, so it needed a thorough cleaning, and it took a few days to get all of that ink out of the inside just using the lever and the sack. But it's done now, and I've recoated the hard rubber, so it's going to hold up and look good over time. So that's my review of the pens that I cleaned out. Hopefully you found it interesting. You might maybe picked up some tidbits of some of the cleaning techniques that I use, and also taking pens apart to make certain that you thoroughly clean them. It works better sometimes with some of the modern pens, but all of them that I do that with. So may you enjoy your pens and enjoy cleaning them, because it's part of owning a pen and a fountain pen. It's the nature of the beast, as they say. You know, you got to change oil in your car, or have somebody else do it. And with me, I enjoy doing that. I used to change my own oil, but now I don't. And modern cars are just not as much fun as the older cars were to work on. So we're going to say bye for now. Hopefully you enjoy your pens and enjoy cleaning them, as I mentioned earlier, because owning and cleaning is part of that process. Keeping your pen in tip-top operational working order. So write as much as you can, share your writing, send letters, survive whatever you're going through in your locality to be safe and healthy, and that's the important part. So I've reached the end of this video. Thank you for watching. May you have a happy life and enjoy everything that you can, especially your pens. Until the next video, bye for now.